everyone! Today I'm here with a book haul. I've accumulated quite a few recently, so I've got 17 books to talk about. So let's get started. So the first two I want to talk about, I just randomly bought them off of Amazon one day. I blame one book. I blame this one, which is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. And I've wanted this book for a while now. It's been a couple of years since I kept thinking about this book, but recently for some reason it kept coming to my mind. I kept thinking about it, kept wanting to read it, so then I finally one day just caved and bought it on Amazon. But it is like a thriller, I guess. So our main character is investigating a death of this one specific person, but apparently it's becoming more dangerous for him to investigate it. What I really like about this book so far is that it's got the mixed media thing, which I've been really into recently, especially with thrillers and like murder mysteries and stuff like that. So it does have a lot of different, even pictures, I think diary entries, photographs of some sort, other bits and bobs, which I think always makes it so much more interesting. It makes it so much more interesting experience to read a book, because it adds to the atmosphere, adds to the mystery, and just makes it more vivid, more enjoyable. I think it is more of on a bigger side, but I'm actually really looking forward to this one, and I have been in the mood for this one for a while now, so finally have it, finally got it. But then the second one that Amazon decided to recommend to me, and me being me, I bought it. That was the Holo Places by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher, I've heard of this author many times, and I did not realise somehow that this is a horror novel, but apparently it is. I mean, I could have guessed it from the cover, but I didn't. I do like the cover though. So in this one we follow our main character, who finds this forgotten bunker by her uncle's garden or something like that, and there she finds these inscripted letters or encrypted words that she doesn't know what they mean. So now she's trying to investigate, but they open portals to different worlds, I think, or different realities or something like that. Alternate realities, yes. But these places are haunted by creatures that seem to hear thoughts, and the more one fears them, the stronger they become. Sounds amazing to me, honestly, so I'm really interested. Also, if you can hear strange noises, my cat is washing himself, so that's what you can probably hear, but hopefully not. But yes, looking forward to this one. Hopefully it's not going to be too scary, because I'm very easily scared, and I'm just hoping it's not going to be one of those times that I will be terrified, but who knows. Next one, still on the verge of like thriller type things, is Blake Crouch's Wayward, which is the second book in a Wayward Pines thriller. I recently filmed a wrap-up in which I read the first book, Pines, by the author, and needed a sequel, so this is the second book. I ordered it off eBay, so it is a second-hand book, and it looks it, but never mind. I also ordered the third one, which I might try and put a picture here, but it hasn't arrived yet. It's been a while now, so I'm not sure whether it just got lost or something's happened, or I'm still getting it, but I thought I'd put it up here, because even if it did get lost, I'm just going to reorder it again, because I'm sure I will want to read a third one. So in the first one, Pines, we follow our main character, who after an accident wakes up in this perfect small town where everything seems to be perfect and great, but he wakes up with no ID, no wallet, and no recollection of what he's doing here and stuff like that. No, that's not true. He is there to investigate two of his missing colleagues, and he's also, forgot to mention, he's like a, not a detective, but he's like a secret agent service type thing for the government. So he's investigating the missing people there, two of his colleagues, and it does have a bit of a sci-fi twist, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Hopefully this sci-fi element is going to be more explored in the second book rather than what it was in the first one, so I'm really looking forward to it. The cover is a bit creepy, I must say. It looks more like a horror one. I don't think it's going to be, but who knows. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading the second one, because Blake Crouch has this talent of like blowing my mind and going with his sci-fi elements to somewhere that I don't expect him to go, which is always amazing. So really looking forward to this one. The other two are from the summer box of stories. I've mentioned box of stories many times. Again, I'm not sponsored or anything. I just genuinely enjoy the concept of getting like mystery books. You don't know what you're gonna get. So there was this limited edition for summer books that you can choose either 4 books in a box or 2 books. I've chosen 2 books because I thought I've got plenty of unread books anyway. So I've gone for just 2 this time, and I believe I chose 1 thriller and 1 fantasy drama. So one of them, again, I talked about this one in my wrap up, but that is The Girl from Widow Hills by Megan Miranda. This one is a thriller. So in this one we follow our main character who, when she was 6 years old, she was swept away by a storm and she went missing for days, and so people thought she was dead. But then a few days later she's found alive, just clinging onto a storm drain. So now a few years later she's given a new name, she lives in a different town, but she's still sort of haunted by her past because she also sleepwalks, and sometimes she finds herself outside of her house or a few streets away or something like that. She also had a few stalkers in the past, a few different threats and a few different things. She was sort of like a local celebrity in her town. And then one day now she finds a dead body in her garden. There's the mystery element to that. I really enjoyed this book, but if you want to hear my thoughts, you'll have to go and see my wrap up. So, but it was definitely a good one. Definitely a good one. And another one from a box of stories, which is, I'm guessing, a fantasy drama. Hello, cat. That's my Rudy. I'm guessing it's a fantasy drama, although the description doesn't really, to me, doesn't sound like a fantasy, but it is The Beauty of Impossible Things by Rachel Donahue. I kind of like the cover. I like the dark house there. So I don't know whether it's going to be a fantasy one or not, but basically we follow, I think, these 2 main characters, who is a mother and a daughter. They live in this small, apparently crumbling house, I think. Yes, crumbling house by the sea. So I'm guessing there's going to be a nice atmosphere. And then one summer, when she turns 15, strange dancing lights appear in the sky above her small town. Lights that she interprets as portents of doom. And a lot of people seems to be going there to see what the lights are all about. And then one day, some person appears, handsome Mr. Bowen, who threatens to upset the delicate equilibrium between mother and daughter. And then somebody goes missing. She's called on to help, but her actions over that long hot summer will have unforeseen and ultimately tragic consequences that will cast a shadow for many years to come. Like, from the blow, it doesn't sound anything fantasy apart from the mysterious lights. I don't know what that's all about. It sounds a bit mysterious. Also, I do enjoy books that are set like by the sea, because at the moment it sounds like there's going to be a slightly creepy, maybe remote sort of atmosphere. And I enjoy books that are focused on just a couple of characters and their relationships, especially if it's like a gothic novel. I don't know whether that's gonna be or not, because apparently it's supposed to be fantasy drama. I don't know, but I'm excited for this one. Another 5 I bought when I was actually searching for presents for a couple of people for their birthdays, but me being me, I bought books when I was out there. So let's talk about them. The first one is don't know how to pronounce that, Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. This is the first book, and I think the series is massive, because like today I was in a bookshop and I've seen book number 14 in the series, so I'm not sure what I signed up myself for, but it just does sound rather intriguing, and it looks rather intriguing. It looks like one of those urban fantasies. I'm not sure if it's middle grade or adult. It doesn't look adult, or like YA, I'm not sure. But I'm intrigued, honestly. It's something I would be in the mood for, because I do enjoy urban fantasies. I'm going to read you the blurb because it sounds cool. Stephanie's uncle Gordon is a writer of horror fiction, but when he dies and leaves her his estate, Stephanie learns that while he may have written horror, it certainly wasn't fiction. Pursued by evil forces, Stephanie finds help from an unusual source, the wise-cracking skeleton of a dead sorcerer. Honestly, it sounds amazing. I look forward to it quite a bit, and I would like to start it sooner rather than later. It's not even a big book or anything. Like, it's 360-ish pages, and honestly, for some reason, I'm just really drawn to this book right now, and I kind of like the cover as well. It's sort of like creepy, but kind of cool. And I was in the mood also for like fantasies that were written early 2000s. I think this book was written in 2007. Yes, so 2007. And for some reason I'm just drawn to books that were written back then because they've got this sort of nostalgic almost atmosphere, and I love them normally. So really looking forward to this one. The next one is definitely a middle grade, and that is The Unadoptables by Hannah Took. I've seen this book before and it did look intriguing, so I'm looking forward to it. But it's basically following this group of people who are the Unadoptables, because I think they live in the orphanage, and I think maybe when they try to be adopted something always goes wrong. And it's also a bit of a historical one because it's set in 1880. I'm actually really excited for it. I don't read a lot of historical middle grades, so I think that's going to be interesting. I do think I'm going to enjoy this one. So these 5 children were one time discovered in unusual circumstances, and ever since then the person who owns the orphanage, I think they call them the Unadoptables. So one day this sinister gentleman wants to adopt them, but I guess they don't like that, so they escape and they go across the frozen canals of Amsterdam, embarking on an adventure packed with pirate ships and puppets. It does sound exciting, and I kind of like the cover of this one as well. And there's on the back, kind of pretty as well, and it's got different illustrations as well, at least at the beginning of the chapter. And I do think illustrations always help, and like I said, I've not read many historical middle grades, but I'm really excited for this one. I do think I'm gonna enjoy it. So there we go. Next one I think is more of a murder mystery type book, but it is Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz. I read one book by this author. It was like a Sherlock Holmes sort of retelling. It was like one of those Sherlock Holmes books, but that was not written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and I did enjoy it, but I think I only gave that one 3 stars. But this one sounds intriguing. In this book we follow retired publisher Susan, who now runs a small hotel on a Greek island with her boyfriend. One day there's an English couple who come in and they tell her a story about a murder that happened in the same hotel in which their daughter got married, and the story is so fascinating that she's really interested in it. And then they find out that their daughter is actually missing right a few hours after reading a crime novel that Susan edited a few years earlier. And apparently the murder that the English couple was talking about and the disappearance are like the clues to those 2 events are lying between pages of the book. So that sounds really, really interesting to me, and again I really like the cover of this one. The only thing, it looks like one book, but I don't know whether it's like a book within a book, because of what I did notice as well. I mean, they're talking about a book that she's written, but like there's also this in the middle of the book, so like a cover about the author, all of the usual stuff that they print before, all of that when it was published and stuff like that. Even that page literally within the middle of the book, so I was well confused when I opened it. And the chapters, they look like, I don't know, are they short stories? I'm well confused. Is it like a short story collection? Is it just a book within a book? Is it, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but I'm so intrigued by this one. It sounds like one of those books that would be ideal to read in the evening, cozy up, maybe more like autumn times. Hopefully I will enjoy this one. Then I've got a historical fiction set in a period of World War II, and that is The Paris Library by Janet Skeslin Charles. I'm sorry for butchering the name, but this one again seems to be a book about a library or a book about books, and I always seem to be enjoying them. So this one is also a dual timeline. We've got one timeline that is in Paris 1939, in where she has her dream job at the American Library in Paris, but obviously when the war starts, her beloved library is sort of taken away, or she is about to lose everything. Then they're faced with choices that apparently will bring devastating consequences haunting them forever. And then another storyline is in Montana 1983, in which Lily is desperate to escape her small town life in Montana, and she grows close to her reclusive elderly neighbour Odile, as the lives of Odile and Lily are woven together through their shared love of language and longings. They discover a dark secret from the past connects them. I'm intrigued. I do enjoy books that have like a dual timeline, and I do enjoy books that are set in the period of World War II, so I'm excited. I kind of like the cover as well of this one, so yeah. And then the last one from that trip, but not the last one of this haul. I've still got a lot to talk about, but it is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, which is the third book in this trilogy. The first one being A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I enjoyed. I now read the sequel as well, so you'll see that in my next wrap up. So yeah, this is the third book. I can't really talk what this one is about, but it's definitely thicker than the other ones. But in the first one we follow Pip, who is a high school student, and she's got this project that she's chosen to basically investigate a potential, like what people consider as a murder when a guy killed his girlfriend. But she doesn't believe that, so she's starting to investigate, and it brought a lot of danger to herself, and it was just so interesting. It was one of those books as well that has mixed media in it, and it definitely worked. It was great. I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to the third one as well, so yay. Another book that I just bought just recently is Summer at Rachel's Pudding Pantry by Caroline Roberts, and this is the third book in a trilogy. The first one being Rachel's Pudding Pantry, which I read I think a couple of years ago now. Then I read Christmas at Rachel's Pudding Pantry I think last year, and so I finally got my hands on the third one. It took me a while to get to it. The first one was really great. I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favourite books of I think 2019 or 2020, I can't remember. But then the second one was more of a disappointment. I think I gave that one 2 stars, but I still need to know what happens in the third one, and I sometimes still think about the characters, and so I just needed to get it. The cover is a little bit spoilery though, but I can't do anything about it. But in the first one, basically we follow Rachel, who owns the pudding pantry. She's got a 5-year-old daughter, and she lives with her mum as well on a farm as well. And it's just basically following their lives. And there's this new, well, not new, gorgeous neighbour that she's known for years and years, but I think he only recently moved back in. So it's a little bit of a romance story as well as cooking, because it's pudding pantry. There's a lot about different desserts and stuff like that. And the relationship between her and her daughter and her mum was so sweet. I genuinely loved the first book. So I am looking forward to the third book and just see how things end for all of the characters. So yeah, I did enjoy the atmosphere of the first one. Was on a farm and how she was trying to manage her busy life essentially. That was just fascinating to read. So yeah, I will get to this one at some point. And the last 6 books I bought today because I had a bit of a, bit of a sad moment. And what cheers me up is buying books. So I ended up buying 6. So the first one that I bought is the Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. I kind of like the cover. But in this book we follow this detective who is invited to an engagement party to this hotel that is based, basically converted, used to be sanatorium, and things seem to be going really wrong because there's also storm. Arriving in the midst of a threatening storm, she immediately feels on edge, and things only get worse when they wake the next morning to find her brother's fiance is missing. With access to the hotel cut off, the guests begin to panic. But this is only the first disappearance. Everyone's in danger and anyone could be next. I read a sort of similar book to that one. It was called The Last. That one was set in a hotel as well, but it was a slightly different story. That was like at the end of the world, on the end of the world. But this one seems again in a remote sort of place, like looking from the cover. And I'm basically really looking forward to this one. It sounds like it's going to be creepy and mysterious, and why are these people missing? And I'm sure it's going to be atmospheric, so I'm looking forward to it. Sorry if the angle or lighting's changed, I just had to empty the memory card. but I've got 5 more books to talk about, so let's get on with it. So another one that I bought literally today is Witch Bottle by Tom Fletcher. I feel like I've seen this cover somewhere before. This one I bought in the works, which was £2.50, which is great, but I think it's going to be like a folk horror type thing, I believe. We follow the main character Daniel, who's just got a normal job and life seems to be boring, but then he starts having these nightmares where he sees things that he shouldn't see. So he sees a giant who feels so real he swears he could touch it if he dared, or the ghost of a man with a black bag over his head. It's not just at night bad things are happening either, or just to him. People are uneasy, seeking unlikely solutions like witch bottles, protective words to keep harm at bay. But not everyone's happy to find the local meddling with witch bottles. Things are about to get very unpleasant. It sounds super intriguing and sounds just the perfect amount of creepy for me, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And it doesn't seem like a big book, it's just over 300 pages. So yeah, definitely excited for this one, and I kind of like the cover as well. Tom Fletcher sounds like an author that I've heard before, but I have no idea what I read by him. I could be completely wrong, but never mind, I'm excited. Another one is The Magpie Society 2 for Joy by Zoe Sugg and Amy McCulloch, which is the second book in the duology, which is where's the other one I've got? So I've got this one, The Magpie Society, One for Sorrow. I like the second book cover colours as well, actually. They are pretty together. But I have not read the first one yet, but I've also heard that when you read the first one you will immediately want to go into the second one, because apparently the first one doesn't give you answers straight away. So when I saw that in a local bookshop, I think it's a sign, because I didn't even know that the second one came out as paperback now. But I'm really excited. Like I said, I really like the cover of this one. I like the covers and birds and this school. But I guess you can call this like a dark academia novel. So in the first one we are at a boarding school and a student found dead on the beach. And there's like sinister atmosphere, and the main character's roommate seems to be having some secrets of their own. There's a podcast as well going on with the sinister headline, I Know Who Killed Lola and One of You is Next. Ooh. So yeah, whenever I get to the first one, I can immediately then go into the second one. So yay. I don't know whether you can hear rain, but it's raining really heavily. I like it. The next book is a massive one, and it is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. It's just over 1,000 pages, but I've heard great things about this one. I think it's a historical fantasy, and I didn't realise, but it's got some illustrations in here as well, which is exciting. So I believe we obviously follow these two characters. There's magic involved. It's set in 1806 and it obviously follows these two main characters. So we've got Mr. Norrell, who one day manages to raise a woman from the dead, and he summons an army of ghostly ships to terrify the French. And then of course we've got another magician who is Mr. Jonathan Strange. They are complete opposites of each other, and there's like a battle sort of between them. It does sound interesting, and I've heard great things about this one, and I do enjoy historical fiction, but this one is historical fantasy, I think, or like with magic at least. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And the last two books, one of them is Book of Night by Holly Black. In this book we follow the main character Charlie Hall, and she spent half her life working for glow mists, and that's the people who can manipulate shadows to peer into locked rooms, strange people in their beds, and worse. They guard their secrets greedily, creating an underground economy of grimoires, and to rob their fellow magicians they need Charlie. But now she's trying to get away from them, sort of start a new life. But it's not as easy as she thought, and now her sister Posey is desperate for magic, and her boyfriend, who might be soulless and shadowless, hiding things from her. And then also when a terrible figure from her past returns, Charlie descends into a maelstrom of murder and lies. Determined to survive, she's up against the cast of doppelgangers, mercurial billionaires, Glomus, and the people she loves best in the world, all trying to steal a secret that will give them a vast and terrible power. I somehow haven't heard many things about this one, even though I think it's a sort of new release. But it sounds really interesting and I'm really excited for this one. And then the last book is, everyone's heard about this book for sure, and it is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. And I still managed somehow to get a, the hardcover of it, because it was there in my local bookshop. These two books actually have really similar covers, and if you put them together, they've got really similar spines, even though they're by different publishing companies. Isn't that weird? Anyway, I'm sure everybody has heard of this one. It's like a dark academia, magic school setting. Welcome to the Alexandrian Society, when the world's best magicians are offered an extraordinary opportunity. Saying yes is easy. Each could join the secretive Alexandrian Society, whose custodians guard lost knowledge from ancient civilizations. The members enjoy a lifetime of power and prestige, yet each decade only 6 practitioners are invited to fill 5 places. Contenders Libby Rhodes and Nico de Verona are inseparable enemies, cosmologists who can control matter with their minds. Parvise Kamali is the telepath who sees the mind's deepest secrets. Raina Mori is a naturalist who can perceive and understand the flow of life itself. And Callum Nova is an empath who can manipulate the desires of others. Finally, there's Tristan Kane, whose powers mystify even himself. Following recruitment by the mysterious Atlas Blakely, they travel to the Society's London headquarters. Here, each must study and innovate within esoteric subject areas. And if they can prove themselves over the course of a year, they'll survive. Most of them. How did I not hear the blurb before? Because I've heard this book so many times, and I'm sure everybody's heard of it. Everybody's probably read it. I'm the last one to join the club. But I don't think I've ever properly heard the blurb. People always talk that it's dark academia. That's about it, really. That's all I knew about it. But there's more to it. Also, it does have illustrations as well, and it's not a special edition or anything, but it does have illustrations, which is always cool. And now I'm really excited for it. It does sound rather intriguing, with all of these powers, with all of these different characters, sinister atmosphere. I'm so excited. And also today I bought a pretty bookmark, which says so many books, so little time. It's definitely about me. I bought 17 books, even though I've not read that many this year at all. So that definitely describes my life at the moment. So yeah, these are all of the books that I acquired recently. Please let me know what you thought of them, if you've read any of them, what you thought of them in general. So yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!